Hello and welcome. I am Deji Badimasi. President Bola Tinubu has taken a decisive action to reduce the cost of governance by slashing the number of people to accompany him and other senior government officials on both local and foreign trips by 60%. Presidential spokesperson Ajuri Ngelale, who made this known on Tuesday while briefing newsmen at the State House Abuja, says the directive applies for both domestic and international events. Here is Ngelale now giving the breakdown of how things are going to be going forward.
The official trips that will be undertaken within the country, that is when Mr. President or the Vice President travels to any state within the country, the massive bills that accrued due to allowances and ESTA code for security detail coming from Abuja, going and traveling into those states, will be massively cut due to the directive of the President that the security outfits within states, whether it be police, DSS, or branches of the military, will frontline his protective detail when he travels to those states, a major cost-cutting initiative. That will affect the office of the Vice President as well as the office of the First Lady. Additionally, when any international travel is being approved, the following limits have been placed on all ministers of the Federation. 4 members of their staff, appointees and the like, will be allowed to travel with a minister on an official trip. For heads of agency, that will be limited to 2 members of staff allowed to travel on an official trip. Furthermore, the numbers that the President has now approved for official travel with him that will apply to his principal staff are as follows. On international trips, the President has directed that no more than 20 individuals be allowed to travel with him. That number will be cut down to 5 in the case of the First Lady. 20 for the President, 5 for the First Lady. Additionally, the number in the entourage on official international trips for the Vice President will be cut to 5. In terms of local trips, the President has approved a new limit of 25 members of staff to accompany him on domestic trips within the country. The office of the First Lady is now limited to 10 staff members to accompany her on official trips within the country. The Vice President will be limited to 15 members of staff on official trips within the country, while his wife will be limited to 10 members of staff on official trips within the country, the same as the First Lady.
Now, to put this development into proper perspective, let's take a look at the 2024 budget for international travels. The allocation for international travels for State House headquarters is 6.3 billion naira. That's not all. International travel allocation for State House operations for the President is approximately 7 billion naira, while that of the Vice President has an allocation of about 1.2 billion. In all, that's almost 15 billion just for international travels for 2024 alone for the President and his Vice. So a 60% slash would mean a savings of about 7 to 8 billion naira. The move has been met with positive reviews, with many praising the President's commitment to cut down on unnecessary expenses and ensuring that public funds are used judiciously. Let's now discuss this further. Inyobong Usen, who is the head of Research and Policy Advisory Unit at Budget, joins me now on the program. Ini, thank you very much for your time. Quite a significant cut, 60%. Help us to understand just how significant this is.
Yeah, thanks, DG, for having me, and Happy New Year to you. I mean, this is good news to the ears. It came a bit later than expected, but better late than never. This is sort of virtue signaling that we had expected that from day one, when the President took reins of office, that, that he made to show that we're not going to continue with business as usual. But we saw that events following that inauguration, proved otherwise. As you saw with the trip to COP28, that drew a lot of criticisms from the public. But we're happy to see that going into the new year and having a full sense of, what the fiscal space, what Nigeria's, fiscal capacity is at the moment, that government is making moves to, cut the cost of, governance. There's a lot more that contributes to that, but we're happy that these are very important first steps to take to signal that, we're willing to, save where, inefficiencies, where waste, has happened or has occurred in the past. And we're willing to redirect those funds to, other critical areas that are supposed to improve the lives and livelihoods of Nigerians.
And talking about those funds, we're looking at about between 7 and 8 billion naira here, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's just for the office of the president and that of the vice president. As you know, there are over 700 MDAs and GOEs of government. So we expect that if that is implemented across board, that there would be significant savings, from international travels.
And of course, let's not forget the ministers as well, whose travel budgets have now been cut down. Now, this applies to the federal government. There's also no doubt at all that even state governments are guilty of the same problem. You see state governors now travel and you see their convoy, you see the huge delegation that they travel with. I mean, the president cannot decree this on the state governments anyway, but you would expect that the state government should take a cue here.
Exactly. We expect that, the state governments will take a cue from the president with regards to, reducing this burden on states, on state finances, which are lean, at the moment. We also expect that the National Assembly, with regards to their principal officers would also take a cue, because these are executives that usually travel with very, very large delegations, when they are going to places, whether they are official visits or unofficial visits. And, this funded by state resources, by taxpayers' money, and in a lot of cases by borrowings, because if you look at Nigeria's fiscal reality at the moment, we're not raising enough revenues to fund, our expenditure. The deficit is widening. And, it's sad that, a large part of that borrowing goes to financing this, very luxurious lifestyle that we cannot afford at the moment. So we really hope that state governments will take a cue from the federal government as regards, the size of their delegations when they are traveling, out of state, and also moving, within the states. We see governors attend, functions, whether it's for the flagging off of projects or the commissioning of projects or the attending of even church programs, and you see the large delegation that accompanies, the governors to these events. And so we expect that, the state governors, take a cue from the president. And we would like to see this implemented across board, so that officials begin to see that from the top, right, that the chief executives are carrying on, with business in a different way. And then they can act accordingly.
And I'm happy you talked about the National Assembly there, because truth be told, sometimes you see the heads of the National Assembly, whether it's the Senate President or the Speaker, each time they travel, you see them travel. Sometimes their delegation is actually even bigger than that of the President. So it will be a good idea to hear them make pronouncements along this line, no doubt.
Very important, very important. And I mean, if you look at, apart from the cost of accommodating this delegation, with the cars, with the new cost of petrol, having to fill up those tanks,
and flight
SUVs
tickets,
and all of
that.
That puts a huge burden on the finances of in this case, if you are speaking to the with regards to whether the Senate or the House of Reps, on a huge burden on the federal government. As you have seen, with the 2024 budget, the National Assembly budget is over 300 billion naira. That's minus the 100 billion naira that has also been allocated to zonal intervention projects. These are huge funds. If you compare, these funds to what states, raise in terms of whether it's FAC or IGR on a yearly basis, it's not much.
The president has made a pronouncement, and of course, we heard the spokesperson of the president when he was asked how this was going to be implemented and what would happen if anyone flouted the directive. And he said, look, anyone who wants to do that should test the resolve of the president. But let's face it, implementation is also key. And you begin to wonder if, how this will be implemented. Because there's a possibility, even within, when you talk about local travels now, there's a possibility that you could have some government officials flout this rule. So for you, what do you expect to see put in place now in terms of implementation and monitoring?
In order for effective implementation of this directive, I would expect that it would start from the budget. So all the MDAs of government as ministries, department, agencies, parastatals of government, and the government-owned enterprises had drawn up budgets for their international travels.
That's true.
So we're expecting that, with the enacted budget, that the budget office would, in line with this directive, right, in actual figures, values, cut down what those what the cost for international travels should be, and now benchmark what the actuals would be against what the new budgets in line with this directive should be. So that at the end of the day, they are able to monitor if these MDAs or GOEs had gone above, the new approved budgets for international travels. So that monitoring and evaluation would come from the budget office, because that's where we have the aggregate figures for what the projections in terms of international travels would be. And once those figures are out, we should be able to tell, maybe quarterly, by the middle of the year or by the end of the year, if the actual cost incurred on international travels, aligned with what the new budget with regards to this presidential directive was. It's only then that we'll be able to say for certain that this directive, was fully implemented.
Tinubu Musen, Head Research and Policy Advisory Unit at Budget. Thank you very much for coming on the program, and thank you for spending time with us.
Thanks, DG, for having me, and have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll take a short break now, but when we come back, we'll be discussing party politics, this time the PDP politics. Stay with us, don't go away. Welcome back. Now, it seems the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike's stronghold on the People's Democratic Party keeps getting stronger as his ally Samuel Anyanwu has now been affirmed as the National Secretary of the party. On Tuesday, the Federal High Court Abuja declared Anyanwu as the valid National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party PDP. In the judgment, Justice Inyang Ekpo made an order restraining the national leadership of the party from appointing any person as acting national secretary while Anyanwu's 4-year tenure is still running and subsisting until December 9, 2025, in line with the party's constitution. Justice Ekpo also declared that any meeting held or resolution reached by the party to prematurely oust or prevent Anyanwu from exercising the powers of his office would be contravening Article 47(1) of the PDP Constitution as amended in 2017, hence null and void and of no effect. Now, the judge also barred the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, from recognizing any purported appointment of any person as National Secretary of the party, whether in acting capacity or otherwise, other than Anyanwu, the elected National Secretary of the party. Let's discuss this further. I'm now being joined on the program by a chieftain of the PDP, Diron Odemi. Mr. Odemi, thank you very much for joining us on the program. What exactly does this ruling mean for your party? Is this not going to create more division within the party?
Thank you very much for having me. And I want to say that it is just an interim injunction granted Yahweh. It is not, we are still going into the substantive matter. And in Nigeria, it's very easy for anybody to get an injunction. Just, like a threat, to hold on to. By the time they get to the nitty-gritty of the matter, I want to believe that the whole thing is going to change. But having said that, I think it is pure impunity and defy logic to say that Anyanwu should remain the secretary of the party. There are many ways of looking at it. Look at it this way. Anyanwu is the secretary of the party, as at the time he wanted to contest for the governorship of Imo State. To such an extent that as the secretary, it appears that there was no level playing ground for the aspirant when Ihediora, aspired to contest against him. And when Ihediora realized that the secretary are part of the people that are going to choose people that will come and conduct the primary election, even at the screening, it was Anyanwu that even signed the screening certificate for him. How do you now trust a system whereby your opponent sign your screening certificate and is the one that is going to nominate people that will come and conduct the primary election? So that was the reason why he thought perhaps it wasn't worth it. He pulled out. And we all saw the result. We lost the election in Imo. And during this time, we wonder why Anyanwu will still remain as the secretary of the party, serving as the party's candidate and at the same time the secretary of the party. Where is the system that says, yes, in the absence of the secretary, the deputy, the assistant secretary or the deputy secretary can take over? Nothing of such happened. This is the impunity that is happening in PDP. And I think by the time the court looks into the whole thing, I'm not sure if the Anyanwu will be allowed to be the secretary of the party.
Well, but I know that the information we have is that is the ruling of the court. Of course, that case was filed last year, and now what the court gave was a judgment, not an interim injunction.
What I read was an interim injunction, but if it is the court's judgment, I want to say, no, I don't normally want to blame the court for whatever they decide, but there's always room for appeal. I'm sure the party will appeal against that ruling because it defies logic. How can somebody, the secretary of the party, go and contest an election and still remain as the secretary of the party? It doesn't add up.
But does the constitution of your party actually allow that?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't know the constitution they are quoting. I don't know. And even, let's look at it the other way. Which constitution will allow somebody to go and contest an election and say at the same time he remains in that same position? This is the constitution that says if you are contesting for a position, you have to resign the one you are occupying. So I don't know where this constitution issue is coming from. I don't understand it. And I don't know the reason why such judgment should come from the court. But just like I say, there's always that opportunity to appeal any judgment. And I'm sure PDP will appeal the judgment. But by and large, it is a sign, it is a signal that there is this unity, a huge one within PDP. And when the solution will come, is still what we still don't know. We remain confused as a political party. That's the truth.
Now, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, sorry. Why didn't the party at the time, insist at the time Senator Anyanwu was going to contest for the governorship of Imo State? Why didn't the party insist that he resigned his appointment? Because obviously he did not resign. There's no record at all or evidence that he resigned. So he left, somebody was appointed in an acting capacity, and now he's come back. And he was elected, according to him, on the basis of his argument now, He was elected for a tenure of 4 years, and he did not resign when he left. So it could be assumed that he was still the party secretary even at the time he was running for the position of governor of Imo State. So why didn't the party insist he tendered a resignation letter by the time he left to contest for the governorship of Imo State?
This is a very great indictment on the entire National Working Committee we have in place right now. In fact, we have this impression that they are too weak to take a decision that will be of benefit to the entire party. And people are even praying, for the time to come for them to lead, because we are not achieving anything, we are not moving forward. They cannot take any decision that will be of benefit to the party. If not, how can you allow somebody who has become a candidate to continue as the secretary of the party? In what capacity is that? Which constitution allow that? So it's an indictment on the NWC, and it's a sign that we have a weak, very weak NWC. No other thing to say than to say that they are very weak.
And I'm just wondering, we know that Senator Anyanwu belongs to the camp of the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike. And we know that the FCT minister is does not see eye to eye now with the current leadership of the party. I'm talking about the National Working Committee and even the acting national chairman you have. I'm just wondering how that politics will play out in your party now that the court has said Senator Anyanwu remains the secretary of the party, which is a very important and powerful position, I must say.
From these judgments, what is clear is that Wike is still holding on to the jugular of the party. And if the party is not ready to take any definite action against him or against whoever are his supporters, it means we have a weak NWC. That's what it means, and that's what I keep saying. If you have a leadership that is not willing to take a decisive action over something that is going wrong or is not in the overall interest of the party, it shows the kind of leader that we have. And that is why I'm repeating what I just said, that by the special grace of God, we cannot wait for this NWC to go away so that we can have new executive of the party that will streamline things and make sure that we have a viable political party as opposition.
Well, the truth is that the NWC cannot go away. They are going to be there until probably 2025. Let me ask you this. Why do you think, from what you see, why do you think the party has found it very difficult to discipline members like Wike and some others who continue to defy the party's, well, should I say what the party stands for now? I mean, just the other day, we saw the former governor of Benue State at that dinner organized by Wike in Port Harcourt, openly declaring support for President Bola Tinubu, that they're going to support him in 2027, and that the G5 still stands.
You see, I think a member of the LWC or the leadership of the party should be in the position to tell we members the reason why they are not taking action. It doesn't appear as if PDP is even existing again. And that is the reason why you had the Labour saying, when we are talking of opposition, they remain the only opposition party now, not even PDP, because PDP has been in disarray.
So do you think all of these problems can be blamed on the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar when he chose to run for the presidency at a time when everyone had expected that the ticket of your party should have been zoned to the south of the country, but he chose to run?
That is the genesis of the whole crisis. And that is why some of us even find it difficult to whip the whole blame on Wike. Because as at the time, Atiku, Saraki, and all of them went to join APC to assist Buhari to win election against PDP, Wike was the last man standing. He stood by the party with everything he had. By the time they all came back, they hijacked the party from him, and that was the genesis of the crisis that we are in today. He thought if I've been with the party, if I've nurtured the party to an enviable position, whereby Nigerians are now looking forward to a presidential candidate from the South, in the person of myself, that is Wike, and some people just came, worked together among themselves, and put him away from that race, then he has every right to say, yes, I will have a way of taking my own part of pressure from them. Not only that, he was promised the position of vice presidency. They took that away from him. He requested for the chairman of the party to resign, simply because you cannot have a presidential candidate from the north, have the chairman of the party from the north. What remains for the south? That was the argument. And where I'm blaming Atiku now is that he couldn't put his foot down on all this matter to say, yes, this should be the meeting, or this is what I want. After having a meeting with Wike and agree with them that, yes, what their demands were, normal and very good. Okay. It will come back to Ayu side and it becomes a different thing entirely. He is a leader that just couldn't make up his mind. And that is why up till now, we are still in this crisis. The solution would have been for Atiku, for Wike, for all of them to come back to a roundtable conference and, iron out all these things and let's move on as a party.
But do you
That's
think
why I'm not exonerating anybody.
Do you think that coming together can actually happen, especially when it's becoming glaring by the day that Atiku still has the ambition to run in 2027?
That is the problem we have right now. And that is why PDP cannot stand as a political party. Because if it's nothing an ambition and is still having a hold on the party, and if Wike is insisting that, I've been cheated in this arrangement and I'm not going to support whoever has cheated me, then where is the solution? And that's why I repeat, nobody could be exonerated on this issue. I expected all the governors under PDP platform, both former and present, the BOT, to rescue this party from all these situations. Come down together, come around together and discuss the solution and the way forward. But everybody is observing the situation from the rings. And we don't know where we are as a political party.
Mr. Dinrodemi, thank you very much for your time and thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks a lot. Well, that's how much we can take on the program. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.